Hi everyone, I'm Hilton Forrester and welcome to my podcast. Today I'm really excited. I've got Ghitta Basson with me here, and these podcasts are for entrepreneurs. What I'm actually doing is working behind the scenes to what it's like to be an entrepreneur. So from week to week, I'll be interviewing different people on this podcast to ask them certain questions and try to open up certain topics and getting tips so that we can help the community and people who are in business. What I'm wanting to do today is generally speak with Ghitta. She is a specialist in mental health, and I would like for her to actually, first of all, before I get started, welcome Ghitta to the call.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great.
Hilton's put me on the spot here today.
Oh, beautiful. I love when I put people on the spot. It's so warm and cozy. But first of all, before we get started, I'll ask you a series of questions. Could you tell the listeners about yourself and how you got to where you are and what you're doing in your business?
Yeah, sure. So I've got two parts of my business. First of all, I started off as a therapist. I did hypnotherapy initially, and then from there it escalated to psychotherapy, cognitive behavior, and I haven't stopped studying, literally. It's been 10 years, more than 10 years. I'm still studying. I get too wrapped up with the mind and I want to know more. So I started off as a therapist, and it wasn't until about, almost 4 years ago now, that I decided, I actually want to bring in a separate part of being a therapist. And I decided to bring in what I've learned as a therapist into the corporate world. And because I used to work in construction myself, I ended up going down the construction route. And I realized I've got an absolute passion for that, because working in construction, you've got deadlines. Once the one finishes, the next one starts. So it's never ending, and the stress and the anxiety that comes with it. And construction, I find, don't have a lot of support mentally, not always anyway. And certainly when I was working in construction, it was almost non-existent. So yeah, that's where my journey started, being a mental health consultant for construction. It has spanned out from there a little bit. I've worked with real estate, I've worked with accounting firms and law firms, etc., even a cheese factory, but my main aim is construction. So yeah, therapy, and in therapy, I help people with stress and anxiety. I'd say 99% of my clients struggle with anxiety. That seems to be the underlying issue in most mental health problems that I work with anyway, and then corporate mental health for construction, basically. So that's how I started, I guess, in a nutshell.
Awesome. That is wonderful. I'm really excited about having you on the show because my background is construction, as you know, as well. And I've got personal stories with construction, from actually growing a business into 22 men, 4 vans, and then going through some stress myself, getting bankrupt, and then having this situation where I actually had to wind back, and it affected my relationships and things like that. So I know the journey what a contractor or a business person can go through. So
that sounds good.
Yes. And as you mentioned, inside the building industry, I still work and I see a lot of builders and contractors under a lot of stress, and the format is looking for work, and then when you don't have work, you're stressed. When you're getting work, you've got too much work, and then you're looking for something else, and it becomes a kind of merry-go-round a lot of the time. So what would you advise a lot of the contractors? I know you've got a lot of programs to work with them, but you know the journey from day to day with their stress levels. What some tips about that, Ghitta?
Oh gosh, it feels like this should be a session in itself, because there's 1,000 things I can say about it. I guess for me, for starters, what I teach everyone that I work with is you've got to identify your stresses. If you don't know where your stresses is coming from, you can't actually tackle it.
Yeah.
So you've got to sit down, and lots of people say, I don't have time. And I'm like, well, you've got to make time if you want to tackle it, you know. But you've got to first of all sit down and see where in your life is your stress coming from. And there's always something you can do about stress, and people don't always recognize it. Just eating better food, for instance, because if you're going to live on bacon butties and McDonald's for lunch and a ready-made meal for dinner, you're not getting nutritious, healthy food in your body, and that's putting stress on your body. So you've got tension all over. If you're not going to drink enough water, you are going to be dehydrated, adding stress onto your body. And stress isn't just what I'm feeling like my mind is about to burst or I can't handle the pressure. Stress is about all over your body, you know, so your physical and your mental being. So just recognizing in itself that you might need to have a better diet, exercise more, and drink more water, already that can relieve some of the stress, even though that's not your major stress income almost. But just recognizing the small things. And I guess now, especially with COVID, there's so much additional stress added on, you know. The main things people normally stress about is money, work pressure, and relationships. And if you have problems in your relationship, that's going to affect your work. Yes. If you have problems in your work, that's going to reflect on your relationships, not just with your wife or your partner, but also your children, also the people you work with.
Yes.
I mean, I think you told me a story previously where you work with someone and you can see this guy's constantly agitated, he's constantly angry, he's taking it out of him on his staff. He don't mean to be that way, but because his stress levels are so high, it's affecting everything around him. And when it affects your life, you're not thinking clearly. So you make mistakes, you take chances. You take risks and you know, think, okay, I'll quickly do this and I don't need my mask. So you're putting yourself at danger and maybe other people around you in danger. So there's so much happening when we're going through stress and you're not really dealing with it.
Yeah.
One of the other big tips that I always give to my clients is you've got to action plan. If you have no plan of action, how do you know where you're going to go? It's like driving around without a GPS and you don't know where you're going. You're going around and around and around and around, wasting all your petrol, all your energy, and you're not reaching your destination because you didn't type in your GPS where you need to go. So by sitting down and first of all identifying your stresses and writing down where in your life all your stress is showing up, from what you're eating or not eating, to your relationship, to your children, to your work pressure, to whatever that may be, even your environment where you live or what's happening where you're living, you know, the smallest things. First of all, identifying, and then action plan. Can I do something about it? So one of the questions, can I do something about this virus? No, you can't do something about the virus, but you can choose what you do about your mental health, what you do about your physical health. How are you going to perceive the problem? Are you going to sit and sulk and be anxious and worried about it? Or are you actually going to push yourself forward and read that book that you've always wanted to read, or spend more time with the children that you never get time for, or exercise more and feel fitter and better? And the same with work as well. If you feel there's so much work pressure, maybe an action plan to have a discussion with your manager or your partner or someone and say, look, this is happening for me. I just need to talk to someone and explain what I'm going through. Just talking about it might relieve it. So whatever you do, identify the stress and then action plan what you can do about it. Whether that action plan actually happens for you, whether it works out the way you want it to, that doesn't matter. The moment you put things into an action plan, it's like you've got a relief off your shoulders. And it's like, I can now see where it's coming from and where I'm heading. Whether the road turns and twists and go all sorts of different ways, that doesn't matter, but you've got a point A and a point B. And already that's helping with your mental health.
Awesome. That's a great answer. I think as a builder myself, in my background, one of the issues I think is builders are very macho. They they wouldn't actually go to somebody for help or talk to somebody. They would just muscle their way through it in terms of that. So to get someone's attention, it's normally late when they've got mental health issues or something to that degree. What are the tips what you could actually do to get someone's attention, especially the younger builders, when they're dashing around in their vans all the time and they don't think about the eating habits or the pumping 5 Red Bulls a day, that kind of thing. All those, what tips would you say for
And
them?
they do that. Unfortunately, I guess humans are stupid in a way. I always say we're the most intelligent animal on earth, and sometimes I think, really? But sadly so, people don't normally take things seriously unless something seriously has happened to them.
Yes.
It's always like, oh yeah, I heard about this story, but that won't happen to me, and all of a sudden it happens to them because they never noticed. Now, so it's really hard. Someone can tell you 1,000 times, slow down, take a breath, calm down, don't work your way up like this, and yet you're just like, yeah, and carry on.
Yes.
And it's not until you've almost had a bit of a breakdown that you then open your eyes and say, oh crap, I could have done this,
Yeah.
I should have, and it's in hindsight, then it's all really clear. But when you're going through it, you don't always notice it. So the main problem, I guess, is people normalize stress. It's become such a norm that they don't really recognize the signs that it's compounding and piling up more and more and more for them. And you think, oh, well, I've got issues at work and I've got issues at work all the time. I can deal with it. And the wife is yapping in my ear all the time, but I'm used to it and I deal with her and I can deal with that as well. And then the kids have got problems and then this happens and this happens. And it's like, it's the same stuff every day and I've been dealing with it every day. So it's fine.
Yes.
And then the boiler breaks down and then you find out you've got a health condition and all of a sudden, all these stress are just exploding almost because you didn't plan for additional things to happen in your life. And by then it's almost too late to then say, now I'm going to do something about it because you're already at breaking point pretty much.
Yes.
You need one tiny thing to topple over. If people can realize that stress isn't really normal, the only time stress is normal is if it motivates you to do something.
Right.
So in other words, say for instance, people are now going through stress of COVID. Where am I going to get money from? Where am I going to make a living? How am I going to support my family? So now that stress in a way is good because it's propelling them forward to say, you know what? I've always wanted to start my own business. I've always wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Now I'm going to do it because I'm so stressed. I'm being pushed towards doing something with my life and doing something better.
Yes. Yeah.
That's when stress is good.
Yeah.
When stress is bad is when you're on a hamster wheel and you don't have control over everything. Your relationship is breaking down. Your relationships at work's breaking down. You're fighting more with your kids. You can't focus. You can't concentrate. You're taking risks. That's when stress is really bad. And sadly so, we don't recognize the stress in ourselves as quickly as someone else would recognize it in us. So like you also said, you saw this happening to this guy where he was stressed and he's angry and he's taking it out on everyone, but he wasn't realizing it himself.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, and I guess this is the part where we always think if I'm going to speak up about my mental health, I'm seen as weak. And especially in the construction world, this macho thing, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to, be weak or I don't want to lose my job. But if we turn it around, your colleagues spend 80% of the time with you. They notice there's something wrong with you. And your colleagues should actually say to you, hey man, something's wrong. Do you want to talk about it? I can see you're super stressed. I can see you're angry. You're irritable. You're taking it out on people. Let's go somewhere. Talk to me about it. What's been happening in your life?
Yes.
And that is a chance for them to say, actually, yes, I am super stressed. I didn't realize you can notice it. Yes, we can all notice it. Start opening up. But even colleagues are too afraid to speak to their mates and say, what's up, man? Or they say, hey, man, how you doing? And the guy says, yeah, I'm fine. Okay, fine. End of.
Yes. And fine is not normally fine. It's
Never.
Something else. Well, on your previous call, I remember there was a great idea which I got from yours, which was having on the building site a sign, and it may be the mental health helpline on the building site. So somebody may not say directly to this individual, or there may be someone who's feeling a bit proud, but they will call and speak to somebody else, but they may not want to speak to somebody in their family about it. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. It's normally called EAP.
Yes.
We've got a bit of a delay. So, can you hear that sound as well?
Yes.
Hopefully it will go away. But an EAP is an employee assistance program. And there's a lot of construction companies that have now introduced it. Not everyone has it yet. And it's basically just a helpline for construction workers that they can call. Yes. Now, they're not always aware of this number they can phone. So it's so important, yes, to have the signs up everywhere, inside the lifts, wherever you can on the construction site. I know one of the sites that I went to do mental health consulting on, we would walk around with the mental health first aiders and hand out little cards. It's like a business card with the EAP's contact details on it.
Yes.
Now, an EAP is great in the sense that they will be on the other side of the phone and they will listen. They can't always give advice. Right. They're not necessarily trained therapists or counselors, but they can listen. And sometimes just getting stuff off your chest can help quite a lot. Just having that someone to talk to.
Yes.
Sometimes they do give advice, which is fantastic if they're able to, but they're not really there to give advice. They're more there to listen and to make you feel that you are supported and it is okay the way you're feeling, because they get 1,000 calls. I want to say a day, probably not a day, but they get so many calls all the time.
Yes.
And I know, especially during the first lockdown, the numbers for EAPs have just shot up. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that started calling because they needed the help, they needed the guidance.
Right. I see. I see.
If you don't have an EAP, have that ready.
Yeah. That's a great idea, and I think that is certainly necessary in this time. I just want to talk about a bit about my experience with it, because being in construction for over 30 years now, I've done a variation of jobs. But the thing what I find with it is that I think a lot of the times, as you're going along doing the building work, you're not quite sure what you're doing in terms of, for instance, most businesses, they don't start out with any training. They just I started as a carpenter, and then I got another carpenter with me and was getting some funds from him, and then before I know it, I had a building company, and then I've gone from that, from being self-employed building company to something else, and I think every single spot is a different training. You've got to change your character, change the way how you deal with people. If you're running a business, you can't befriend everyone. And I made some mistakes regarding that when I was, and that added to the stress. It really did. And that's so. What would you advise someone in terms of that when they're starting a business, in terms of in that particular area? Do you have any advice for people with that?
Oh gosh. So when you say, are you talking about specifically when they're starting their new business?
Yes.
but they need training.
Yes, they don't necessarily need training. Their character needs to be a certain way. And if your character is still as being a normal carpenter and you're running a business, there are two different skill sets in the relationship between where you started and where you are. And you've got to go through that progress. And it is stressful to keep altering what you're doing and the way how you deal with people, and then you've got to think about all the things like tax and all the things to do with inland revenue, and then you've got all the things like health and safety, the things what all the things in running a business. And I think if you've actually communicated with certain businesses on a level, they tend to have the health and safety then coming into, and the EAP would come into this business here, but down here it wouldn't be necessary. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Got this major delay again. It does make sense what you're saying. I'm not sure if I'm the best to advise on that, but I think what tends to happen is, and that certainly happened with me as well, and I learned the hard way. I just jumped into a new business without doing proper research, without really knowing what it is that I really, really need. And again, it comes down to planning, which is why they say have a business plan. Even if you think you know your job, I mean, I knew everything about therapy, but I knew nothing about business. And I thought, I'll be fine. I know exactly what to do, how to deal with people, how to help them. I know that. So I can start a business. Yes. But having a business is something completely different. You have to be the manager, the marketer, the accountant, you've got to wear so many hats. It's not just about your skill anymore. When you work for someone, it's all about your skill. I know my skill. I work for someone. I do my job. I go home. I've got no more stress. When you start your own business, you are everything.
Yes.
Unless you are filthy rich and you can afford all the other people, which you probably aren't when you start your business. So you've got to wear so many different hats and become a jack of all trade, basically. And which is why they say it's so important to plan. And it comes back to my action planning that I spoke about earlier on. If you don't have an action plan and know where to get from one point to the next, you are causing yourself unnecessary stress.
Yeah, beautiful. That's wonderful.
If you're going to start your own business, sit down, have your business plan, think about all the possibilities that could go wrong. I need health and safety. I need an EAP. I need this. Write down literally everything and get familiar with these things. Where are you going to find them? Where's the resources? Find a mentor. Speak to people if you can. But you've got to have that action plan to avoid that stress. Don't do what I did and jump in, and then it takes you about 3 years just to figure out what you're actually doing in your business.
Yes, awesome. That's a great answer. I thought you wasn't qualified. That was brilliant. I think that is so true. And you mentioned in there about find a mentor, because I think that tends to definitely help. And that helped me when I started out, a coach, having a coach to direct you. And now I'm doing coaching. I'm coaching quite a few others as well. So someone who's gone through it can actually guide you and say, okay, these are the things what you pay, because all businesses are sales and marketing. And if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. Where's your next client coming from? And a lot of people focus on the wrong things. And I find that that's why, 95% of businesses don't last 5 years. And it's those things that consistently getting clients. So great. So it's been wonderful. So before I ask my last question, Ghitta, I see your sign behind you where people can find you. Is there anywhere else where people can find you on the internet? I know you're on.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. Mainly my LinkedIn is about construction and my corporate mental health. So you'll see things like the workshops I deliver, anything from stress management, sleep improvement programs, safety in mind. There's all sorts of mental health workshops that I provide. And that's on my LinkedIn, I guess, just searching Ghitta Basson. There's no other Ghitta Bassons on there, so that should be easy enough to find. And then I've got a Facebook page, and it's actually just Ghitta Bass without the ON. And that's where I help people with stress and anxiety on an individual basis. Okay. And then obviously my website as well. So if you get to my website, you'll see the individual side and the corporate side. So you select wherever you want to go, and you'll find all the details in there. And I'm happy to do a free consult. Quite sure if I can help them, they can, book me for a free consultation. We can have a bit of a chat. I'll explain more in detail what I do and how I help. But I guess my main thing is helping people in the shortest time possible. I mean, I'm a psychotherapist as well, and I do all sorts of talking therapies, but sometimes if you see a therapist, it can carry on for weeks and weeks and weeks, or even years. I mean, I sometimes see clients who said, I've been seeing a therapist for 6 years, and I'm like, 6 years, and you still feel stuck. You still don't feel like you've gotten anywhere, and it just breaks me. Yes. The main idea is you want to get better. You don't have time, and you want to get better as soon as possible. Yes. So I normally try and help my clients in as little as 4 sessions. So whether that is 4 sessions in 1 month or 4 sessions in 6 months, we go at your own pace, but try and get you there as quickly as possible without it dragging on for weeks and weeks and years and years.
Brilliant. That's wonderful. Yeah. So really, I think if anybody wants to contact you, they can contact you online, and you do a session. Is it kind of like you would ask them certain questions, see where they are for the first session, and then you would go from there and see if you can help them. Wonderful. I think what I'll do then is put your details on my website, and people can also contact you through that on hiltonforrester.com. So it's been wonderful. Just I'll ask my last question then. I think you're about to travel as well, because you're going to go to another country. Yeah. Where are you off to?
So yeah, I'm going to my homeland, Namibia. Wow. I haven't seen my parents now in 1.5 years by December. So I'm desperate to spend some time with them and get to see them again. And normally I just go home for 2 weeks or something, but this time around I've got a whole group of HR, not really staff, HR employees or something, I'm not sure what to call them now, and they want to deliver some workshops in Namibia as well. So I've decided to extend my stay and go and do some serious work there as well. So I'll have a bit of a holiday and a bit of a working session, and then I'll come back.
Brilliant. I guess you're helping a lot of people, yes? That's brilliant.
Oh, well, that's the idea.
So in my last question then, how would you want to be remembered? I know you're doing a lot of contribution. It's a tough question, but...
Yeah, why do you have to ask it? How do I want to be remembered? Oh, gosh. I don't really know. So for me, Hilton, ever since I was a child, I'm a helper. I just want to help people. And I normally go out of my way. Even if I can't help them, I will try and find someone else that can help them. And my friends actually calls me Nokia as a joke, because they say connecting people. So Nokia, connecting people. So if I can't help you, then I will find someone that can help you in whichever way it is. So I find that a lot of my friends will message me and say, oh, Ghitta, I need somewhere to stay. Okay, I can't help you, but let me find someone. Okay, Ghitta, I need a new car. No problem. I will find you someone that can find you a car. Wow. I need a boiler. No worries. So I'm very much a helper, and I'll go out of my way in finding that help for you. And I guess that's sort of where I landed as a therapist, because many, many, many years ago, I got stuck. I started sleepwalking. No idea why. I didn't even realize I was doing it. It was driving my partner at the time nuts. And I realized, oh, I need help. And this is more a mind thing than a doctor thing. So I went to see a hypnotherapist. And within 1 session, I was sorted, no more sleepwalking. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. So I kept going back to her for a few more sessions. And she changed so much in my life. Like, I didn't even realize there were issues, and she changed it. I'm like, great. And I thought, oh, I know what she did for me, but I want to really understand how she did that. And then I decided I'm going to do a quick weekend hypnotherapy course just to understand what she did. And I did that weekend course and I thought, oh my goodness, I love this.
Wow.
And I can totally see how I can change people and change their lives and make things better and help them. And that's where my journey started. So like I said, I've never stopped studying. I'm still learning about the mind all the time and adding new skills. And I thought, you know what, I couldn't get better. I love helping people. And now I've got a job where I constantly have to help people. And it's just a perfect thing. So if I have to be remembered for anything, it's like, that's the goal that helped me. No matter what it was, I just want to make that difference.
Beautiful. That's a brilliant way to end. I can see why you're passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
And I admire some mentoring